What is going on, Sourdough Squad? We got Jason Aponte back in the building after a beautiful dub. Jason, I'm starting to feel like we might be a little bit of a good luck charm because I think we started doing the State of the Franchise episodes every Wednesday, I think around the Colts game,
And
right?
that was after the Colts game.
After the Colts game. Since then, the 49ers have now won 4 of their last 5, most recently against the Vikings. How you feeling today, my guy?
Great. December 1st, huge game. Seattle week. Team with in position to do something that I understand. Don't get ahead of yourself, but they have a chance to do something like end an era. And I don't want to get ahead of myself or be overly optimistic. But before we get into all that, let's talk about this Vikings game. But you could tell that I'm juiced. The Seattle week, there's a different vibe. For once, this is a 49ers team that's on the way up going into Seattle week, as opposed to Seattle being in that position, especially considering last year. Also, if you guys are noticing, this is on 2 different channels right now through internet magic somehow. So
we're leveling up, Jason.
Absolutely. So for anybody that's in here, either on Brad's channel or my own, please hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to both of us. Hit that notification bell. When you hit that like button, it sends it up in the algorithm and gets more eyes on us. If you guys want to help us out, we appreciate everybody that tunes into our show every Wednesday, and it really means a lot. And that would be the best way for you guys to help us out at this point.
Absolutely. And while you're liking and subscribing to both of our channels, let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, Jason. Let's start right at the quarterback. We kind of been bearing the lead with the quarterback the last couple weeks, but let's start there. What was your what was the roller coaster of emotions for you, and what did you see from Jimmy Garoppolo in that performance against the Vikings?
Yeah, I mean, suffice to say, after the interception happens, your heart rate starts to rise a little bit. It has to do so much with the implications of the game, playoff game in the regular season. If I've ever seen one, had that vibe going into it, had that vibe throughout the entire game. You know, a few high throws, the interception happens, but in 2019, after Jimmy Garoppolo threw an interception, his numbers were striking on the next drive, and that was something that you kind of hoped happened. And then you look over. Or the camera pans over, and Kyle Shanahan is whispering affirmations in Jimmy Garoppolo's ear,
whispering sweet nothings into his earlobes.
Yeah, I love you, Jimmy. You're the greatest. It's okay, no problem. I'm just paraphrasing as to what he said. Let's go back out there. But Jimmy Garoppolo settles down, and I think that for a little bit right there, that kind of snapped Kyle Shanahan back into his game plan, meaning, okay, right now Jimmy isn't as accurate as you want him to be. Okay, let's take something out of the playbook that I don't like, that right now he really can't do, and let's get back to basics, and that's what they did. The thing that I took away from this game from Jimmy Garoppolo and his 49ers team is things are not going to be perfect. It's not going to be like the Rams game. It's not going to be the Jacksonville game every single week like that. That's just not how this league works. But can you get punched? Can you punch back? And can you get back to your game plan? And I think that for as many bad throws as we saw in the first half for Jimmy Garoppolo, there were so many good ones in the second half. And that is the Jimmy Garoppolo experience. And it's the Jimmy Garoppolo that we have come to know and love. And, you know, it just is what it is. There's no further analysis. There's no need to dissect it any further. It just is what it is with Jimmy Garoppolo. But as usual, they got the win and they figured it out. But that's what I took away from Jimmy Garoppolo.
Absolutely. And Jimmy Garoppolo is a 30-year-old quarterback. So he's not developing a brand new skill set or like really adding a bunch of tools to his belt. He kind of is who he is at this point. So, and I think it's kind of crystal clear that we understand Jimmy Garoppolo isn't going to be perfect, right? He's going to come out, he'll make a bad throw or a bad read here or there. But I think the biggest takeaway, at least from my perspective with Jimmy Garoppolo, was that he was able to come out so awful. Like, I don't know about you, Jason, but it was probably one of the worst, at least opening drives to a game I've seen in a while from Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know if I've ever really come across, a situation where he just seems so out of sorts throwing high. He had the one really nice pass to Juwan Jennings over the middle on that opening drive, but then he ended it with a pick. It was just like, I think Joshua was talking about it earlier in the chat. He was saying, like after that first pick, it felt like, oh, this is a Trey Lance game. Like this is where it's going to happen. But shout out to Jimmy. With the self-inflicted adversity, he was able to bounce back and really, like you said, he made some good throws down the stretch there. But what it comes back to really is what kind of Jimmy are we going to get? And when he does make the mistakes, can he bounce back? And if he can do that, I think the 49ers will be in a pretty good position, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And the turnovers, right? I mean, there's that stat floating around when Jimmy Garoppolo throws an interception. The 49ers haven't won a game until this past Sunday, which I think that was a little bit of a misleading stat because the one game in Arizona, he threw an interception when the game was over. So it's not like that turnover was the reason they lost. So that's why that stat is a little bit skewed in my eyes. Like you can't just like blindly look at that number and say, well, look at this and look at that. No, that was in the fourth quarter. That game was well in hand. That wasn't the reason they lost. So, I mean, everything deserves its context. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. As much as we dislike the whole 2019 vibes, everything like that, all that stuff, at this point, it's starting to feel more and more like that in the way of Jimmy being asked to just manage the game, operate the offense efficiently. And if he's going to be that guy that he was in 2019, like he is right now lately on third down, and after interceptions, then I can live with that, especially since the defense has been playing very well, but is not nearly as dominant as it was in 2019. So I think that is the portion of it that you should really focus on. Not the one turnover. It's that he needs to be even better than he was in 2019 because that defense is nowhere near as dominant. And you saw glimpses of it in 2019 down the stretch when the defense lost D Ford for stretches and other players. And he was able to win games with his offense, as opposed to just relying on the defense. So it's starting to feel a little bit like that. You don't want to get too carried away because it's a small sample size, but that is the stuff that 2019 vibes. That's kind of where they're getting back to at this point.
Absolutely. And I want to ask you this question because as one of the founders, Jason, of Only Shans, I need you to be able to preface to the audience what Kyle Shanahan is doing, how he's doing it, and is Shan back? Is he back in his bag? What are your thoughts on the coaching staff? Because the coaching staff came under massive fire amidst the losing streak, and we understand why. It comes with the territory. But now with this 3-game win streak, 4 of the last 5, what is your takeaway of the coaching staff, specifically offensively?
Back to basics more than anything with Kyle right now. And I want to cite a particular situation with another team, another great play designer and play caller. His name's Andy Reid. And what I want to preface this on is saying play callers get into funks. It happens. Every single one. Every single one. There he is, head of the sprint right option analytics department, man. Don't let him start dropping stats. But what I want to preface this on and say is this. Play callers sometimes get into funks. Sometimes you start to outsmart yourself. Sometimes you start to think that you can do things and you push the limitations of your roster, right? Your offensive pieces. So here's what I'm going to point to. Andy Reid and Kareem Hunt's rookie year, offense comes out blazing the first 4 or 5 weeks, right? Kareem Hunt is destroying defenses. This is with Alex Smith under helm. Well, you get to the middle of the season and that offense starts to kind of sputter around a little bit, right? The play calling isn't there. They're not getting the ball to Kareem Hunt as much. Andy Reid passes off the play calling duty to a young man at the time named Matt Nagy. And Matt Nagy jumpstarts the offense again. Now, I'm not saying that Kyle Shanahan needs to turn this over because there is nobody to turn this over to. But what I'm saying is that even your favorite play callers, your favorite play designers, they get into funk sometimes. Now, whether that's they're outsmarting themselves because of the fronts they're seeing or they're just not getting back to basics, it happens. Right now, Kyle Shanahan is putting his team in positions to succeed all across the board. His wide receivers, his linemen, his quarterback, his running back. Everybody's in position to succeed. And also this whole hold the ball away from everybody, it's to not expose your defense and that secondary to being on the field for too long. So right now, Kyle Shanahan has gotten back to basics, and right now he is coaching to his team's strengths. And that is the sign of a good coach. That is the portion that I have back in the bag when you say that. It's not necessarily the play calls or the design, but it's understanding not the limitations, but playing to your team's strengths on both sides of the ball. And I think that that's what he's doing right now. As far as DeMeco, man, the thing that got me so hyped, man, was when after Azeez Al-Shaair gets that interception, you watch the all 22 and just put your eyes on DeMeco. DeMeco's running to the end zone. It looked like he was about to go take the picture with them after the interception. He was so hyped. I love it, man. And this feels like a guy who's hitting his stride, who is coaching for his guys and coaching through them, meaning he's seen what Azeez Al-Shaair has been doing. He's seen how hard he's working. And for him to get that turnover, he was just as excited as any player, man. I haven't seen DeMeco that hyped this entire time that he's been a defensive coordinator. So right now, things are clicking. And the guys are playing for their coaches, and the coaches are putting them in good spots to succeed. It's all you can ask for at this point.
Absolutely, and that's a very natural transition. And let's get right into it. Let's talk about Azeez Al-Shaair. Both you and I were super high on Azeez going into camp. He got hurt early in camp. The whole time we were there, we didn't even get to see our boy even perform because he was hurt the entirety of training camp. But I think we're starting to see, you just hit on the coach and his reactions. The 49ers posted a great mic'd up of Fred Warner, and you're seeing Fred Warner's interactions with Azeez Al-Shaair and just how the team is responding to Azeez. Is Azeez Al-Shaair the best defender on the 49ers defense right now?
It's close.
Outside of Nick Bosa.
I was going to say, it's close.
Outside
it's close.
of Nick Bosa.
It's close between three guys. It's Bosa, it's him, it's Jimmy Ward. But here's the beauty of it. 3 levels. 3 levels, 3 different levels. You could pick any one of those, and I wouldn't argue, point. Right? And that's amazing. Right now, what Azeez Al-Shaair is doing is all based on the work that he's putting in and improving on things. That interception is more growth than anything. That's what had me excited. The one thing that you could point to and say, okay, Azeez needs to fix is man coverage. But right now, him being able to lock in on Kirk Cousins' eyes, undercut that route, and then convert the turnover is signs of a guy who is growing mentally every single day. And that's all because of the work, right? And right now, obviously, we're going to be going into this game against Seattle without Fred Warner. But Azeez Al-Shaair is going to be wearing that green dot. And he was always the backup Mike. So this is his time right now. And this is his time to continue to show his growth. And I couldn't be happier for this kid, man. I mean, again, the 49ers always find ways to find guys who aren't drafted high, not necessarily draft darlings or even drafted at all and get the most out of them. So, I mean, I couldn't be happier for Azeez Al-Shaair. It's always great when you see the progression because you can see the vision, right? You see the talent, you see it there. But then when you see the progression happen, it's almost like, you know how we talk about like, oh, our kids growing up before our eyes. That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like that because he's continuing to grow and it's happening at the right time because if he continues to grow and this defense gets everybody back healthy, I mean, the sky's the limit. And I think that's the portion that I'm so happy for with Azeez.
I love the point that you made again about this team or this franchise or this regime, whoever's in charge of developing later round draft picks. It's pretty phenomenal because if you start to go through the list, Trent Williams, who's been one of the best slot corners throughout the majority of his career, undrafted free agent. You keep going down the list. You have guys like Kevin Givens who have been stepping up as of late. He's undrafted free agent. Fred Warner, 3rd round pick. Dre Greenlaw, 5th round pick. DJ Jones, 6th round pick, I believe, 5th or 6th round pick. Talanoa Hufanga, 5th round pick. You have Emmanuel Mosley, who's been balling out as well.
Oh, yeah.
He is undrafted free agent. So you got like a big portion of this defense are guys that are found later on down in the draft, of course, being headlined by guys like Nick Bosa, Arik Armstead with the high draft capital, Jimmy Ward too. But for the most part, I mean, the defense is really stepping up regardless of where these players are drafted. What would you kind of put that to? Is that just them just being super good at scouting and being able to identify talent and then also being able to have a long-term plan for nurture as well?
I think that it's that. And I'm not sure who gets the credit. You know, a lot of people say, is it Lynch? Is it Kyle? Is it Adam Peters? I can't put a finger on it, but for some reason they have an eye for traits That's the thing that I always look at, right? That's why they continue to take shots on Jordan Willis and the kid that they just got from Houston, because the traits are there, and it's all about cultivating that, and again, putting them in position to win, right? So it's something about what they see in certain guys that other people don't, that they are able to get out of them, and that's the sign of great coaching right there. That is a sign of great scouting. So for as much as everybody talks about, well, the draft is a crapshoot, well, they've been hitting and missing on these guys. For every missed draft pick that they've had an undrafted free agent that has stepped in and is competing at a high level. And I think that is the portion that you should really focus on. As much as I yell about whatever happened with, Jalen Hurts or whatever, that it's become a running joke at this point.
Wait, what happened with Jalen Hurts? No.
Nothing happened with Jalen Hurts. It's just
you're right.
As much as that's a running joke, you still have to give them credit for being able to get the most out of Emmanuel Mosley, Azeez Al-Shaair, other guys on this defense and on the offense as well. So I think it's a lot about they scout traits, certain traits. Okay, you may not do this well, fine, but we're not going to put you in position to do that. We're going to put you in position to use your traits in the right way and not leave you out to dry. And then once I think the player starts to believe in themselves a little bit more when they start to see the success, because they're put in positions to win, and they continue to grow because of the confidence. And that is all going to coaching right now at this point, man. There's something that needs to be said about that.
I've spoken to a couple players in this offseason, and a couple of them have spoke to multiple times about this organization and how they really do pour into their players. And I think exactly like everything that you discussed, that's what we're seeing come to fruition with these guys like Azeez, guys getting paid and rewarded like Emmanuel Mosley. It's really phenomenal to see. And so hopefully with this trend continues, because if we flip over to the offensive side, we got 6th-round gems like Elijah Mitchell throwing up 27 carries for 133 yards and a touchdown. That's 4.9 a carry. That's like 4.9 a carry, like that's we're right there with Mostert level of production. What has been your biggest takeaway seeing Elijah Mitchell return to the lineup against the Vikings?
He just every week he's asked to do something different in the run game, and this is what I mean by that. Rams game, everything's in between the tackles, tough yards. They didn't run outside zone that much. This week, outside zone, inside zone, everything that you can. Like, and it's all about him being as flexible as he is with the actual, with the beating that he's taking, right? Like, this is the first time in Kyle Shanahan's regime here that he's got a bell cow. And right now, it's not necessarily something that he wanted to do, I believe. I think that it's more about necessity at this point, because let's just face facts. Raheem Mostert goes down. Trey Sermon's obviously injured. He's not what they thought he would be. Jeff Wilson was injured. Obviously, right now, Jeff Wilson is not playing well at this point. But Elijah Mitchell, out of necessity, has become this bell cow. And now he's responding week after week, right? And it's great to see the evolution, and it's great to see the flexibility of him, right? 1 week, Kyle Shanahan's asking him to get tough yards in between the tackle. Next week, we're gonna hit them with outside zone, and we're gonna get you these big runs. What I'm also impressed with is how he falls forward. Yards after contact. He's getting hit, and then he's going forward, and he's finished. I said on the last video here, people think we ruin players, injure players that can't develop guys. It's just not true. We straight created guys. For sure. 100%. And with Elijah, he gets hit at the line of scrimmage, and he falls forward for 2-3 more yards. I mean, that's the sign of a great running back. That's the sign of a dog. And I think when you really look at the draft capital, 6th round, it's an absolute steal. I mean, there's guys that have been drafted in the 1st or 2nd round that haven't been able to do what he's doing.
Look at our own team, Trey Sermon, for example, 3rd-round pick. They traded up for him. He's on IR now.
Right. And I understand that people are like, oh, well, you took him in the 3rd round. What are you doing? What's going on with that? It's like, man, you've got a 6th-rounder who's doing what you thought he would do, and better, I think, because he's faster. So it's like, don't complain at this point. It's just, plus you don't know what's going to happen down the line, right? Like, it's just this year. Like, who knows? So,
and it's also cool, too, that we can talk about Elijah Mitchell in the category of Najee Harris and Javonte Williams, 2 very high-profile running backs, and they're kind of right there with each other. They're in the same category. So to me, that's a win, right?
Yes, I mean, please don't bring up Javonte, because I've been getting killed all week for my opinion. Just my opinion.
Right.
My opinion.
Well,
yeah.
share with us. Why not?
No, I don't want to talk about this again. I don't want to talk about this again, Brad. Look, forget what I said. Forget what I said on Twitter. Elijah Mitchell is
Hey,
the greatest of
you're
all time.
spitting facts though. You're spitting
No, I
facts
wasn't.
though.
Everybody hated what I
No,
had to
I
say, and that's
wasn't.
fine. Remember on your stream right now.
Oh
I'm not Jason Cone. I'm Grant Aponte because now that I'm the new Grant Cone, right? Like that's it. Because
that's right. That's right.
Because I have
That's
an
right.
opinion. That
Right.
no, look, I don't want to talk about that anymore because it doesn't matter. Javonte's not playing here at this point, and all that stuff is moot that I talked about because he's not going to get the shot to take the bell cow role until next season. So I'm almost screaming into the void because next year is when we'll be able to compare both of these guys as they both progress as the bell cow. So don't even worry about that. Right now, what you need to focus on is that remarkably, Elijah Mitchell sees 8+ defenders in the box almost 37% of the time. And that is incredible. We all know why that is. He still has 91 rush yards over expectation. And that is incredible, man. When you consider how loaded that box is, and he's still able to get those tough yards, man. It's remarkable what they're getting from him. He's having an unbelievable season. So happy for the kid, man. And, you couldn't ask for more from a 6th-round pick.
I think one of the things that I watch on tape, and we break it down all the time, is he still has room to grow, and a lot of room to grow. But even so, he's still producing. He's, like we said, 4.9 a clip. That's pretty special. And that's even with some of maybe taking the wrong read here or there. But once that fully blossoms, Elijah Mitchell could really be a stud. So I'm really excited about that. What are your thoughts about the Trey Sermon injury? Just quickly, what did you kind of take away from that?
I mean, it seems like when Kyle's asking more of players and you're not playing, you get put on special teams. So you can show that hustle, that tenacity that he's looking for. And unfortunately, he got injured, and that's not what you want to see at all. So, I mean, hopefully he rests up and he gets better. But it's funny because when guys are, whatever, not the doghouse, we don't have to talk about that. What I mean, is when Kyle is trying to get more out of them, he usually puts people on special teams. So you can show, all right, you're not going to help on offense right now because you're not where we're at. Go help us on special teams. Go make a tackle down the field. Go block somebody on a punt return or something like that. And that's the sort of thing. It's like you still have to find a way to keep your players engaged. And you still have to find a way to draw whatever you're trying to draw out of them. And he tries to do that in special teams. Unfortunately, it ended up with Trey Sermon injuring his ankle, and he'll be out a little while. So hopefully next year he can get right, because I think that he would be a fit, especially if what we think is going to happen with this offensive line on the right side when they move to more of a power running, with Trey Lance under center. So he can be very valuable next season. And the idea of having 2 cost-friendly deals for rookie running backs between him and Elijah Mitchell, that's something that 49er fans should be excited about, because how I'm in the firm camp of don't pay running backs a second contract. Look at the examples.
The Panthers, right?
Right. Ask the Panthers. Ask Alvin Kamara just got injured. He's been injured a little bit, dinged up. Dalvin Cook's injured again, and he got paid. So there's examples of it. Great players, no doubt. But unfortunately, just because of how demanding this running back position is, signing those running backs to a big contract usually doesn't go the way that you want it to go. So unless you're a freak like Adrian Peterson, who's going to play, by the way, just signed by the Seattle Seahawks and added to the practice squad. So I guess we could talk about that. He definitely won't be playing on Sunday, I don't think. Not that I was worried or anything like that, but I'm just saying, we're talking about unicorns when we're talking about guys who get second and third contracts in this league at the running back position. It just doesn't happen very much. So when you have 2 cost-friendly running backs that you drafted and you develop, that is a feather in your cap if you're the 49ers.
Absolutely. Why don't you drop? We'll get to you. We'll come back to you, Jamaican boy. But why don't you drop the news on us, Jason? What just happened?
So Seattle signs Adrian Peterson to the practice squad. Clearly, they need a boost at this point. If you know that their depth chart right now is Alex Collins, DJ Dallas, Travis Homer. I mean, nothing against DJ Dallas, who actually I think the most of out of all of them. Alex Collins has just not been particularly effective, and they want a veteran presence in there. So Adrian Peterson probably isn't going to play Sunday. I wouldn't worry about that. But if you're talking about going forward, I think that's somebody that they're going to try to at least turn it over to. But if you watch them in Tennessee, No disrespect, because you're the GOAT and you probably
Right.
would, destroy me if you ever saw me face to face.
He's one of the best running backs to ever
of all
grace our
time.
league. So
But
we'll start with there. with
right.
that.
He's just a little zapped right now at this point, and
Yeah.
I think that it's more for just stability at this point. I mean, at this point on December 1st, if you're signing running backs to your practice squad, the pickings are slim. And Adrian Peterson is, and if there's anybody, and let me preface that by saying this, if there's anybody who can just shut me the hell up and runs for like 200 yards in a game or something like that, it would be old Adrian Peterson, right? Like every time you feel like, okay, that's it, this guy's done, he'll just say, oh yeah, like he almost hurt us. Like I remember when he signed with Arizona, when they brought him over there after the Saints thing, they traded him. I was like, man, this guy's done. He runs for like 175 yards in his first game. And it's just like, man, like what kind of time is Adrian Peterson on, man? So having said all that, I wouldn't expect too much, and I definitely wouldn't see him. We're probably not going to see him Sunday, but if there is somebody who could shut me up, it would be Adrian Peterson. I wouldn't bet against him, but I'm not in love with it.
Well, I think it's funny, too, how you said that, because we've been trying to keep that same energy with Seattle. I mean, Seattle's limping into this game against the 49ers. Their record, seemingly they are what the 49ers are if we didn't win these last 4 games. Like, that's essentially the path that they are on. It's fire everyone, blow it up. Like, that's essentially where they are. But we always talk about it. It's the Seattle Seahawks, and they have our number. They've had the 49ers number for a better part of a decade. They got us this year. They shouldn't have, just based on their overall talent level. So we don't expect Adrian Peterson, like you said. He probably doesn't even play or suit up, but it would be hilarious and typical Seahawks fashion for them to suit up Adrian Peterson and him to go for 100 or something crazy like that. We're going to knock on wood and
20, 100 and 2 touchdowns confirmed. Sourdough Sam, right?
Jamaican boy. So we were talking about just a little bit about how the 49ers have been really good at finding late round talent. He says, yeah, we get great talent later on in the draft, but it's a problem that we don't apply the same knowledge or philosophy in the early rounds. And we won't go crazy because draft season's coming up and we are going to be absolutely in love with draft season. We're going Mobile, let's go. But really quickly, what is your kind of thought process from a, high level view?
The problem is that I don't know who's making what picks. And I don't think anybody does, right? So it's hard to assign blame or praise, right? Like, this is a Kyle pick. That was a John pick. That's an Adam Peters pick. We don't know for sure until somebody writes the book on this 49ers tenure, like whoever it is, like similar to what Robert Griffin is doing with the Washington book. We're never really going to find out. So for me, it's a little bit harder to assign blame. I have my thoughts on who certain players, like Deebo, that's a Kyle pick. Jalen Hurd, that was a Kyle pick. He coached both of them at the Senior Bowl. They were both there, like that. Those are Kyle picks, right? But then the other ones, I guess the Solomon Thomas one, you could say that's John Lynch. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to figure out who exactly is identifying these later round gems, these undrafted free agents, what traits they're exactly looking for when they're looking at those guys. So I guess that's all I have to say about that, if I even said anything at all.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people tend to forget too. It's also on the player. The player has to fit the system. He has to come in and fit the role, and fit into wanting to grow as well. So it goes both ways. But let's hop back to, you talked about Deebo Samuel being a Kyle Shanahan pick. Deebo Samuel he's up there. Potential MVP. We've talked about that. He's just producing, and now he's kind of shifted almost to a running back role. He had 6 carries for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns as a rusher. Obviously, we know he's gone down with the groin injury, the groin minor 1 to 2 weeks. What are your thoughts on Deebo Samuel's performance, the injury, and his overall impact to the team in 2021?
I think that the fact that you've seen back-to-back weeks him be the second leading rusher behind Elijah Mitchell goes to show you what I was talking about, why Elijah Mitchell is getting so much work. It's just right now, Jeff Wilson isn't producing at the clip. Obviously, Jermichael Hasty looks like he might play. So it's out of necessity more than anything. The Elijah Mitchell bell cow thing and Deebo Samuel seeing those rushing attempts. For the Kyle ran him into the ground crowd, let me stomp that out right now. And let me do it really quickly. He didn't get hurt on a hit. He was already sliding down. And who's to say that if he was running a route that groin wouldn't have flared up? Would you feel better about that then? Would you feel better about it then and say, well, hey, he was running a route. That's fine. I think that people get a little
that wouldn't fit
away.
their narrative, Jason.
Right.
That wouldn't.
I think I think that's a little bit skewed when people are going crazy when it's talking about that stuff. And also, I am a firm believer of get the ball in your playmakers' hands no matter what. You know, Deebo Samuel was running the ball very well. He had that long run, and then everything else. Actually, he had that one long run, and then everything else was kind of bottled up a little bit in this game. But at the same time, I don't like the whole idea of people saying, well, he ran him into the ground. No. Like if he would have, hurt his groin running a route, you would feel better about that because it wasn't a rushing attempt. No, it's just that's something that's going to happen while you're playing football. Like, and that's it. Let's just hope that it's 1 to 2 weeks. In terms of going forward, the Seattle game is going to have to be a big game for Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and Elijah Mitchell. It's going to have to be on their hands. And Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have to do more this week. You have to. I don't think that you can realistically say that you're going to be able to run the ball 40 times this week. I really don't think so at this point. I expect the Seattle Seahawks to play their best game of the season somehow just because that's how it works. Doesn't matter what they've done for 10 straight weeks. This is the week that Seattle's going to empty the clip. They're going to empty the bag because they feel the same exact thing. That stadium is going to be loud. They don't want the 49ers to end this era. They know what's right in front of them. I guarantee you that they're going to come out and play well. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope the 49ers win this game 31-10 or something like that. I hope I'm wrong. But in terms of what they're going to be missing, that safety blanket of, hey, let's just hand it off to Deebo. Let's throw him a tunnel screen. Let's let Deebo work. That's not there now. Now, you have to, it's on you, Jimmy. It's on you, George. It's on you, Brandon. And it's on you, Elijah. You have to be the engine of this offense now because you're missing the offensive weapon, as Ian Rappaport is calling him at this point, because that's what he is. Stop calling him a wide receiver. Call him the OW. But it's not going to be something that is going to be easily overcome. Like, that's not something that you can just say, oh, well, Deebo's not playing this week. Doesn't matter the opponent. What he does for this offense is so crucial. What he does to alleviate, tough down and distances and tough and big plays. That's it. Every time they need a big play, why is it always Deebo Samuel? So now someone else has to be that. And I think that that's the portion that has me, again, I sent out a tweet saying, fans are telling other fans, don't take this game lightly. Well, we're not playing. You can take it lightly all you want. The 49ers can't. And I don't think they will. I was just trying to be a jerk, I was just trying to be a jerk on that one. Like, fans can do whatever they want. If fans want to take this game lightly, go for it. Who cares? You're not playing on Sunday. Like,
right. Talk your mess, whatever.
Right. It's just I saw somebody saying, well, if we lose this game, it's because of the fans. What? I mean, like, what are you talking about? Like, what do they have to do with it?
My favorite's when I post something on my Instagram page and they tell me I'm going to be the reason why I jinxed it, and I'm just like, okay, that's fine. If you want to give me that power, I'll take it. But I agree. There's going to have to be someone who steps up, right? Deebo Samuel has been the spark. He is that guy to make the explosives. He's the guy who's getting the touchdowns and making the crazy plays. So obviously, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Elijah Mitchell are going to be basically woven into the game plan even more. But who is a potential surprise producer that we might see? Because it's gonna have to be a lot of people to come up and try to help fill Deebo Samuel's shoes. Is there anyone that you got your eye on that could be a surprise producer against the Seattle Seahawks on offense?
Juwan Jennings. Matt Mayoko came out and said that if he had to predict who would be the number 2 wide receiver, it would be Juwan Jennings. And when you do the things that Kyle Shanahan likes, run blocking, and Jimmy Garoppolo's best throw, one of his best throws of the game, was that throw to Jennings on the side of the end zone, and he couldn't get. I mean, I think he got his shin down. Whatever, it's not ruled a touchdown. Let's just call it what it is. It wasn't a touchdown, but he's a big guy. He's coming into his own as far as his routes. Now, if you can pass block, Kyle's going to put you out there all day. And it's in 2 receiver sets. I think that it's got to be him and Ayuk. I really do. So he seems to be getting in people's heads, both of them. The Ayuk and Jennings pass run blocking has been incredible as of late, man. It's been really good. Brandon Ayuk is pissing off every single person that he locks in on, and you gotta love that. So I think it's Juwan Jennings. I think that just based on his big target, radius, that helps. Big catch radius. You throw it up there, hope that he goes and gets it. That was the scouting report that I got from many people who were either Tennessee fans or scouted him extensively. Dog after the catch, and just and almost like a street fight. So and they're gonna need all of those things in this game because that place is gonna be loud. That people are gonna have to be composed. And if you can get the Seahawks off their game, in terms of all of that, then I just think that it's gonna be Juwan Jennings in this one.
I agree. And this was the play that you referenced just a second ago. The almost Juwan Jennings touchdown.
What a throw.
What a throw. What an adjustment. What a route. All of it. Like from the start, the way he's able to mix up the cornerback, gets him with a little stutter, stacks him, and then is able to make the adjustment to the back shoulder. And come on, that was so freaking close, man. It was
Just
so
give him the
damn
touchdown.
Close. Just give it to him.
Just give it to him, man. Come on, refs. Who cares what the rule is?
Christ, man. What are we doing
Christ, man. What are we doing here with these damn rules?
Yeah, what is this? Come on, give us that.
Close enough.
I get it, though. You got to maybe get that foot down. But it's a beautiful adjustment, beautiful catch. This would have been touchdown number 2 on the day. So I agree. I agree too. I think Juwan Jennings is the guy to step in. He, like you mentioned, he's one of the best blocking wide receivers that we have on the roster. So we already know that's going to get him on the field as well. So hopefully he produces. Maybe we finally see Trent Sherfield. Who knows? We saw Trent Sherfield this game.
That was a big catch.
He made that catch. What did you see on that catch?
I just saw somebody with heart to go get it, and it was a third down. That's it more than anything. Sometimes it is mind over matter, and it is the person who wants it more. And I hate all those coaching cliches, man, but it's true right there. Like, who wants it more? And he wanted it more right there. And I think that I'm not certain if Deebo was already hurt in that game, but for me, that felt like a guy who realized, okay, I can snatch some playing time now. I can step up right now, and this is my shot. So all of those things combined, it was a tough throw. Give Jimmy Garoppolo some damn credit, man. In the end of that game, in the third or fourth quarter, he had guys in his lap. He had guys in his lap, and he stood in there and was throwing the ball, man, and slinging that thing, man. Give that man some credit, man. You can say one thing about his limitations and also praise him, and both can be true, man. But Jimmy Garoppolo, man, he had guys in his face, and he made some throws in this game, man. Just be objective. It's like, don't let your feelings as to whatever it is you think should be going on cloud what's objectively right in front of you. And he made some throws in this game, man. But I felt like Trent Sherfield was trying to seize his opportunity. This is the best way I could put it right there. He was like, that was that lose yourself 8 Mile moment, like, go get it on third down, and it was a big conversion, and he got it. Mom spaghetti, all that.
The 8 Mile moment. I freaking love the reference. That's so fire. It's so damn good. I do want to pull up, though, since we are talking about Juwan and we are talking about Jimmy in the same breath. Let's show the touchdown. Might as well, right? Because I think we can see a little bit more of this. We can get a little bit more. Like, one of the things that, we were talking about objectively viewing Jimmy. Like, we understand we get bad and good Jimmy, but this is great Jimmy. Like, on the move. I believe this is the play that your podcast is named after, right?
Sprint, right, option. Joe Montana had a guy in his face and tossed. It looked like he was throwing the ball out of the end zone, but Dwight Clark was, rest in peace, was there for it. But yeah, it does look like that. It's almost the same exact thing. And again, look. Everyone's going to point to, man, that's like a 7-yard throw. It's ball placement, dude. It's about ball placement and putting it right where only his receiver can get it. He's a big target, and that's it. It's a touchdown. I don't care how many air yards he's got. Complete the passes when you need to and win the damn game at this point. Like, that's it, man. And he had a few of these throws like this in the game. You can objectively say that, yes, he was high on certain throws early in the game, but you can also objectively say he has some dimes and darts in this game, and he did going into the end of this game. So I'm a little tired of the whole discussion right now at this point. Trey's not going to play. while he's winning. That's it. Like, just let it go. It's obvious, or you don't have to agree. Next year, it's going to be what it is. But right now, when they're winning games, who can complain, man?
Absolutely. Wake up, honey. We got a
Wait,
Jimmy Garoppolo
Jimmy
dart.
Dart.
Jimmy dart over the middle. Boom. Right to juice. You love to see it. And you're absolutely right. Jimmy really did settle in. I feel like the emotion of the game, and again, him starting out kind of poorly to begin with, felt really bad, but he really settled in. And like, this is good Jimmy right here. This is feeling it, being comfortable, and just letting it rip. And so hopefully that's the type of Jimmy that we get out of the Seattle performance, but we will absolutely see what happens come this Sunday. Let's see. What are your thoughts on the offensive line's performance against the Vikings defense? Now they're down a couple starters on the D line, but what was your overall thought process of it?
I thought everybody was relatively solid. Obviously, when I'm talking about having people in their lap, there was a little bit of Brunskill, getting
It
pushed
was
back a bit. Like, and that's what I
twice.
noticed. Yes, that's
Yeah,
what I
he got
noticed.
he got hit twice.
Allow me to say something that probably is not on my 2021 bingo card. Tom Compton's been playing fine, man.
Let's go.
I don't know what the hell's going on here, man. What world are we living in at this point?
I have
But
no
I mean,
idea.
look. Hey, look. I know we joke a lot, right? But objectively, when a guy is playing solidly, you have to give him his dues, and it's just like, hey, man, Tom Compton's playing well, man, and this line is solidly coming together. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, Trent, right?
Mhm.
Trent. The only thing that I took away that was kind of a surprise was Laken Tomlinson had 2 penalties, and I felt like he never had a penalty all year, like at all. Like, and he
Mm.
got 2 in the same game, which was a
I thought they
surprising,
were
right?
I thought they were terrible calls.
Ticky
Like
tack, right? Ticky tack.
and they were the same. It was literally the same thing. It was really bad. They weren't good
But
calls.
what I'm noticing is the line is in line with the game plan, right? Everything is quicker throws. Everybody's holding their blocks good enough. And yeah, you mentioned it. Obviously, the Vikings were down some of the defensive linemen, but Tom Compton's been fine, man. And until he does something wrong, I'm gonna get up off him. So that'll show me.
Hey, I'm even an O-line guy, and I freaking lost my mind when the 49ers kept Tom Compton over some other players. I lost it. And I was really nervous about Tom Compton, for reasons we understand, especially against what we saw when he had to come in and spot or play. And once McGlinchey went down, you're like, oh, God, like this is like we really see the difference here. But again, Tom Compton was in his bag. I've never seen that version of Tom Compton. I'm not going to pretend like I studied him in his younger years or anything like that, but Tom Compton was in his bag. He was blocking in the run game. He was pass blocking. The biggest thing that we talked about with why Jalen Moore got benched against the
Jaguars.
Jags was because of the lack of ability to pass off D-line stunts.
Yep.
With Tom Compton in there, it was like, nope, back to normal, business as usual. Nothing like it almost kind of feels like, and I don't want to sell Mike short, but it kind of felt like Mike was back in a sense, just wearing a number 66 jersey this time around. But with Tom Compton, I think we're really going to get a good test of what he's capable of because Dunlap is a much better edge player than he's played against since he's been in. We go back to, I put lots of respect on Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey got 1 or 2 times by Dunlap. And Tom Compton, we talk about, traits and scouting. His pass blocking is probably where he is lacking the most, but he's been serviceable since he's been in. So that's going to be one of the things that we're going to be watching. We're going to be keying on how they attack that, how they slide protection. What are they going to try to do? Are they going to overload his side? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. But the you got to put one step in front of the other. The first step was playing good against the Vikings, and he did that. So overall, though, phenomenal, right? Phenomenal for what we have come to think of Tom Compton.
Right. And you know what? Don't discount cohesiveness across the line in terms of
Of course.
those stunts and everything as well too. Traits are one thing, but the smarts, right? Offensive linemen have to be the smartest people on the field, and being able to recognize who's going to take who and pass them off and everything as well too. Don't discount that. And that's it, man. Like I think that that's another reason that we talked about it, or Kyle talked about it. That's it. More advanced analytics right there from Jesse. Is Kyle Shanahan talks about him being a coach on the offensive line, and sometimes you can win with your mind as opposed to your traits. If you're in position, you understand leverages and you understand what guys are trying to do in front of you, and you're able to pass them off, and you're able to put and then again behind him, Kyle Shanahan's not calling deep shots. Everybody wants all these deep shots. The ball's got to get out fast. You don't want to have them out there on an island. So again, you have to. Everything needs its context, and it all goes back to Jimmy Garoppolo. Everything needs its context in terms of what you can do, what you can get away with in terms of the defense that's in front of you and your offensive line, and not putting them in bad positions. So I think that all of that is contextualized when we talk about how solidly Tom Compton has played. That's it. That's all and that's it. It's objective. Like, you can't really say anything more than that. Now, whether that'll continue or not, that's completely up in the air. But as of right now, you have to give the man his props, man. And I definitely have to eat a bunch of crow.
Absolutely. And I'm fine for it. I'm absolutely fine for it.
I like being wrong about things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, oh, damn, you performed and I thought you weren't. Like, hell yeah, let's go. Like, I have no problems with that. Let's talk about Trent Williams real quick. I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't. What have you continued to see from Trent Williams? What are your just overall thoughts on the man, the myth, the legend, Trent Williams?
Thank goodness for you, Trent. And I wanted to point something out because it's really interesting, and I tweeted about it yesterday. We heap all this praise on Azeez Al-Shaair, right? And he was one of the lowest graded PFF players this week, right? PFF had him, but what do your eyes tell you, right? Exactly. But in the same breath, when it's Trent and he's 99.1, that matches up with the eyes, and that fits the narrative. So we push that. So like it's weird, right? Like it's weird, right? Because we're like, oh, look at Trent's PFF grade, 99.999. Who cares about PFF?
We're like propping it up. We're like, look. And even me, I'm like, I don't believe in PFF O-line grades, but look.
Right, and then who cares about PFF? What the hell do they know? Look at what they're grading Azeez Al-Shaair. It's like, we can't have it both ways, guys. But I think that further pushes the reason that PFF is very subjective. And I broke it down because I had a little bit of experience trying to get my foot in the door at PFF. I got a chance to get into their grading system and understand how it works. It's very much subjective, guys. It very much is. But in this case, eyes, PFF grade line up the same. Trent's just a joy to watch. You never hear his name called. And if you want to have some fun after the game, because I know you're all watching the quarterback, where the ball is going, everything, it's very hard to watch Trent and do all those things, especially when you're watching the game live. But when you go back, just watch Trent's reps and just watch him manhandle giant men, and it's a joy, man. You'll just sit there laughing. Like, here's a drinking game. Take a shot every time he puts a lineman on his back, and it's dangerous. That's
very dangerous. You might get alcohol poisoning.
I played a drinking game of take a shot every time someone does the gritty, and by the second half, I was blind.
Jason was in the bathroom, locked and down on the floor after that.
I couldn't even finish watching the game at that point, so don't even take what I have to say about the second half. I didn't watch it. I was in the bathroom, like I was seeing into the future.
Oh my gosh, that's freaking hilarious. With the defense too, let's switch gears a little bit over to the defensive side. Obviously, Trent Williams has been having a legendary season on the left side, blocking some pretty stout edge defenders. But we have a stout edge defender on our squad. Nick Bosa has 11 sacks in 11 games coming off the ACL. And you can tell me what you think about this, but it kind of feels like he's not on an island, because he does. There's of course other defensive linemen, Arden Key, all these guys. But when we looked at how we envisioned the starting O-line, Javon Kinlaw, Eric Armstead, maybe more on the edge, and that would allow more flexibility, more one-on-one matchups for Nick Bosa. That's not happening. In fact, Nick Bosa is getting double teamed, I think, at one of the highest rates in the entire NFL, 28%. And I think that might be part of it. So what are your thoughts on what Nick Bosa is able to do from a production standpoint, with that type of attention put on him? And shout out Bernard Book, says
Let's
Brad
go,
and
Bernard.
Jason. You
Appreciate you,
both
man.
are awesome with the great topics on YouTube. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much, my guy. On that note, what are we thinking about Nick Bosa, Jason?
He's not even all the way back yet. And I think that there's still more to unlock with Nick right now. And I think that's the scary part, right? And you mentioned it. We thought the whole idea was, okay, Bosa gets all this attention, other guys will unlock based on that, right? They're gonna get advantageous one-on-ones. That's not necessarily happening right now. Also, shout out Kevin Givens, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go, my boy. That was a big play in that game as well, too. I wanted to make sure that we did not miss out to praise him because that was a very big play in the game. But in terms of Nick Bosa, man, what else can you say about this kid? 11 sacks, how many tackles for loss, double teamed at an enormous rate, and still is impacting the game. And I still feel like he's not all the way back from that ACL. There's still one more level for him to unlock, man. It's incredible. Shout out to the Arizona Cardinals for taking Kyler Murray. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Now, shout out like in the way that you allowed us to get Nick Bosa. Not shout out that you got him because he's going to be a problem for a bunch of years. But I just 49er fans are so blessed right now. There is a legit case that the 49ers have 3 players that are the best at their position, right? Trent Williams at tackle. You can make the argument for George Kittle at tight end. You can make the argument for Nick Bosa. I personally don't think Nick Bosa is the best right now, but it's hard to argue against it if someone wants to. And that's just my opinion. I think that, obviously Myles Garrett right now, what he's doing is just, it's ridiculous. But Nick Bosa is not even all the way back from his ACL. So I think that's an exciting part for 49er fans, is that you potentially have 3 guys that are the best of their position, man. And that's a good point, Caesar. He never I see this man in headlocks and it doesn't, he never gets knocked off of his game. Right. Because that could send people into a rage. Right. Like you're not getting calls, and it happens every single week. But he just continues to say, OK, that's it. Next play, go. Keep going. And that's it. And I think that, it's so strange when you hear him talk in press conferences. He's just like, yeah, whatever, man. It's just like very soft spoken. But the man plays like a monster on game day. And like I said, I think that there's still one more level for him to unlock. And that is exciting as hell.
Absolutely. And I'm really hoping to that with next level, with that next, we didn't even talk about Fred Warner, who was at one point considered, arguably one of the best linebackers in the league. What did you kind of see from Fred, and how do you think the 49ers overcome losing him for about a week or two?
This couldn't have happened at a worse week. I mean, we just sang Aziz praise, but this Seattle game, I wish he was there just to be the calming presence, right? Keep everybody in line. Right. That's it. Like, get in the huddle. If things aren't going well, calm everybody down, get everybody level. Like, that's what I think that is going to be the portion that we're going to miss as much as his play, right? Like, I'm not discounting his play. I'm just talking about being that guy. Everybody calm down, do your job. This is what we got to do, that portion. Now, while I have no doubt in my mind that Aziz will be fine in this game, it's still it would be wrong of me to say that Aziz is just going to step in and be as good as Fred Warner. That's not real. Like, so I think that this is the one game that I wish, if there was a way that, like, hey, he plays right here in this game, but he's going to miss the next one, that would be fine with me. But the way that the way that the stadium is going to be loud, how loud it gets in there, I think they're just going to miss that calming presence from Fred in that huddle to just say, hey, listen, keep everything level, even keel, and keep just doing your job, right? Keep everybody level. And I think that's the portion that scares me.
Absolutely. And I think Aziz was actually asked a bunch of questions about that today at the podium, about the green dot, about he has 2 helmets. He wears his regular helmet when he's not in the middle linebacker role. And when he has to switch to the mic, he has to switch helmets because only the earpiece is in the green dot helmets. And so he has 2 helmets. I thought that was interesting, but he was talking about that. He was talking about how typically he's coming to the huddle and he's just hearing for his play, his responsibility, and that's really all he's thinking about. Now it's a much different situation where he's leading the defense. He's getting everyone the information. He is now the communication from the coaching staff to the players. So that is going to be a bit of a learning curve. It always is. We know guys like in the past, Reuben Foster, they tried to give him the green dot. And they said, nope, we're going to take this back from you. And they gave it to Fred as a result. Having the green dot just isn't automatic. So it is a great point, something that could maybe rear its head. Hopefully not. Let's talk about the safeties though, because we've had kind of a revolving door a little bit with some injuries and things like that. But it feels like with Jimmy Ward, Jaquiski Tart, Talanoa Hufanga, they're starting to build a little bit of a rhythm. What is your kind of? I know you're locked in and really really strong at scouting DBs and doing all that kind of stuff. So what is your input on how specifically the safeties have been playing?
Yeah, a little bit shocked to see Hufanga in single high, especially on that second Adam Thielen touchdown. But again, that's a rookie that's learning, and this is gonna be his position next season, I believe. Love Tart, but I just don't think that he comes back next year. So he has to learn a little bit more. But he was a little bit out of sorts on that play, kind of just covering grass and that touchdown. Give credit to Adam Thielen and Kirk Cousins for realizing that they have that great rapport. Thielen's route was going to the pylon, and when he saw Hufanga float too far over, he cut his route back, and Kirk saw it, and he put it on him for an easy touchdown. Right. So that's the thing. It's just, again, much of what single high is and much of what Hufanga has to do is, because you don't have closing speed to get back or move as fast, you have to be able to recognize the coverages, and that's all going to come with time. And he's great with playing with instinct, right? And look, with Ward, obviously you don't have to worry about him. Tart's snaps were a little bit dialed back in this game. They definitely wanted to get Hufanga on the field in this game. So here's the thing, man. I think that this week you're going to see all three of them because it's going to have to happen. Marcel Harris is still in concussion protocol, I believe. Obviously, it sounds like Dre Greenlaw is not going to play in this game. So Hufanga is going to get put in a position where he's going to get the play closer to the line of scrimmage in a linebacker position, probably that will spot, and he's going to be able to get downhill and just react, right? Because again, with all of those other things, that'll come with time. That'll come with time in the film room. That'll come with mental reps. That'll come with just seeing it in the game and seeing the speed and understanding coverages. That's all going to come with time. But right now, I think that this is going to be a really big Hufanga game because he's not going to have to be in those positions, and he's just going to be the guy who's going to get to explode on ball carriers and explode on plays that right over the middle of the field where he can get there and make pass breakups. So I think that this is going to be a game where you're going to see Hufanga have an impact because he's much more effective right now in his development closer to the line of scrimmage. And I think that he's going to have to be somebody who they rely on in that way because, nothing against DFF, but, it doesn't feel good right now in that linebacker room. So I think Hufanga is going to have a chance right now to have his mark on this game, and I think that he will.
And I'm excited for that because when Dre Greenlaw went down with the injury, which is unfortunate, I think he's going to be out for 1 or 2 weeks. I don't know if it's too serious. But Hufanga came in, and I believe he was playing Will. And in back-to-back plays, he sniffed out 2 passes in the flat. And you see the instinctual cerebral ability of when he's able to flash immediately to that spot when he recognizes it. And you're like, that's what we like to see. It's the single high stuff when he's in coverage. As you discussed, it's a thinking man's game back there. You have to be on your keys and know your assignment. If they bait you into something, they're coming after you, and then they're going to come after you again if they can find a little tendency here or there. So it's actually a little bit better situation, I feel, for Hufanga. And like you said, I think he might even make a couple more plays as a result of being around the football a little bit more. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. I really am. I think he's going to do pretty well at the linebacker spot. I hope that's the case for the game. Do you think Marcel Harris is going to get the bump up in front of DFF?
It depends. It depends on what starts to happen in this game, right? Like if the 49ers have problems stuffing the run, I think that might be where you see him, but if it's a little bit more of they're getting hit by Lockett, you're gonna kind of need that backup speed that at least Harris can bring there at that position. So I think that it really is going to depend on his game flow here, what you're going to see. In my eyes, they'll probably start with Harris there just because he has experience in the system and there's somebody that he can try to get to. But I think that if one thing starts to fail in front of the other, that's when you'll see people switch around. So I don't know what to say at this point. I think that it's really just going to depend on what Seattle is doing well and what the defense is doing well as to who's going to be playing more.
Absolutely. I agree. So we're coming towards the end. If you guys do want to drop any questions in the chat, go ahead and do that. We'll try to get some of your input and takes or questions or commentary onto the stream as well. But before we do so, I've been saving it for the end.
Uh-oh.
My favorite player on the team,
Mm-hmm.
Josh Norman.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about him?
Hey, man, look. This is a give and take situation, right? And we talked about it with Trevon Diggs. Trevon Diggs takes the ball away, but Trevon Diggs also gives up a lot of yards and penalties. So let me give you a scenario. Trevon Diggs gets beat, and and whoever he's the receiver, he catches the ball, puts them at the 1, right? And then the next play, they try Trevon Diggs again, and he jumps the route, and he picks it off, and he takes it back to the crib. Are you just as upset with what he gave up and what he gives? And I think that's the give and take that the 49ers are allowing to happen with Josh Norman. It's not my way to do it, but then again, what the hell do I know? Because I'm not a coach, right? But, here's my fear. This is my biggest fear. Is that there's going to be a game. Hopefully it's not this week, and hopefully it never happens. Jason, just shut the hell up, right? Don't put this into the stratosphere or anything like that, right? But there's going to be a game where he's either getting beat and constantly getting penalties or just getting beat over the top, and he doesn't get one of those those fumble pop-outs. And you're just watching him get beat and beat and beat. I don't want that to happen again. So it's the give and take at this point. You're obviously, sometimes he goes rogue on his coverages. There's switch offs and he just does whatever the hell he wants. He held Justin Jefferson and Justin Jefferson still baked him. And then, he gets that punch out, but the 49ers don't get it. So it's give and take, man. And you're playing with fire, I feel like, more than anything at this point. But it hasn't reared its ugly head yet. I hope it doesn't. But that's my fear with Josh Norman. So it didn't cost them in this game. And it hasn't cost them in games prior, really, realistically. I mean, the Arizona game, whatever, that he had that mistake and everything. We were both upset about that. We didn't think that he deserved to be on the field. But it's just like he's fine right now. He's fine. The only thing that I could say that the reason that he's allowed to do that is because Emmanuel Mosley has been so good on the other side. So good. And I think nobody is talking about that right now at all. Mm-hmm. He has been so good that whoever they're throwing at Mosley, he is not getting beat. And does that become a situation where they target Josh Norman more now, right? Because you don't even, it's not that Mosley is so locked down. It's that when you see an advantageous matchup, you attack it. And I think that that's sometimes where I get mad at the 49ers, right? A starting cornerback goes down on the 49ers side, and they don't try him, right? Try him. Right. At least try to throw the ball down the field. See if you get a jump ball where maybe he misplays it. See if you get a penalty. Try him. That doesn't necessarily happen. The 49ers don't attack matchups the way that I like them to. But in terms of what you're seeing, it's not that Emmanuel Mosley is like this lockdown number 1 cornerback. He's playing very well. But in terms of who do you attack, I think it's going to be Norman every single time if you have to pick between those two just because of how Mosley's been playing. So that's really just my fear more than anything, is there's a game where Norman gets beat and beat and beat and costs his team, and he doesn't get any fumble recovery and doesn't turn the ball over. And it's like, man, you just got cooked. And that's what I'm just afraid of. But, hey, right now they're living with the give and take. That's the best way I can put it.
Absolutely. Bryant Culp asks, if Josh Norman keeps getting turnovers or creating turnovers, is it possible to see him on the team next year? I mean, it kind of feels like he could.
Possible, but there's a lot of good free agents out there next year that you can sign for the low. I think that are younger, that can give you a little bit more in terms of single coverage. And if they get put on an island, they might be a little bit better. So we'll see. You know how Kyle likes his vets, man. You know how Kyle likes his guys, and if he likes what Josh Norman is doing right now, and he wants to come back, that's another thing too. Let's put this into perspective. And I guess this may come off as me defending Josh Norman. Josh Norman was on the couch, and they're not paying him much, and I think when you look at it like that, he has the most forced fumbles in the league. Mm-hmm. I think that's a pretty good trade-off, sort of. I don't even know if I'm saying what I want to say or if I even believe what I'm saying.
I know what you're trying to say. You're being very logical and smart, and you're taking in all the factors, and you're laying out a very logical, sensible take.
Yeah, and I'm trying to. I don't want to be all angry.
It makes a lot of sense. I'll be angry. Okay. I just don't like him. I can't say it.
Wow, that's usually me. That's what the spicy takes. Let's go, spicy sourdough.
Apparently, Josh Norman has unlocked spicy sourdough Brad because since I've been covering this team in 2017, I've never talked about a player like this. But I just can't do it. There was a clip, I don't know if you saw it, of him. They were I think it was around a scrum or something, and he's banging his hands on the back of Adam Thielen, smashing him. The week before, he stepped on Van Jefferson by stepping over him, Tyrone Lue style, and then just straight up cleated him. I'm sorry. I get what you're saying. And the logical, sensical part of my brain is if he's creating 7 forced fumbles in the short time he's been here, that's valuable, because when coaches look at the main statistics that, how do you win football games in the NFL? Most of the time it comes back to who turned the ball over. So that is a very huge, important thing. But it's to your point, what's the best of both worlds? Are we willing to give up, are we willing to have him vacate his zones and give wide open shots to Justin Jefferson down the left side of the field and just deal and live with that? Or and I know where we're at. We're going to deal and we're going to live with it. And he's going to stay. He's not going anywhere. If he would have been cut, he would have been cut already. So it is what it is. I just can't stand him. I really can't. Every time I watch him on tape, he infuriates me.
Well, I get more upset of the simple stuff because you're a veteran, right? If K1 is passing off a route to you and he's alerting something to you, come on, man. What are you doing? And then that's kind of what brings me back to Kyle, are you yelling at him? Are you dude, Mo Alley Cox gets a walk-in touchdown because you run to the line of scrimmage when Tart's telling you about the switch off. It's a basic ass rub route. You are not a rookie, dude. Do what the hell? If you even clean that little portion up, I can live with that. But the whole going rogue and doing whatever the hell he wants, that stuff is the stuff that I don't understand. What are you guys doing?
Especially with Shanahan, he's very by the book, do it my way or the highway. Yet Josh Norman, I don't know, this is weird to me.
Dude, in the Rams game, K1 Williams is passing him off, and it's passing off Cooper Kupp, and Norman's nah, I'm just gonna run to the middle of the field, leaving a wide open throw to Cooper Kupp, and it's dude, it's Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan is yelling at Brandon Ayuk, run faster in practice. And this man is literally blowing assignments and just doing whatever he wants. And Kyle's just nah, that's cool, man. He's going to punch the ball out soon. I know.
I'm dying. You got my face as red as a freaking strawberry, man. You're 100% right. It's just wild. It's wild. You're going to get me getting all, look at me. I'm all sourdough, spicy sourdough right now.
Whoa! Go. I don't get spicy because the 49ers are winning. Go.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I'm just going to take it all out on Josh Norman. But in all seriousness, I think I get pissed off with the ancillary moves, the after the fact things. I know, and some of the things you talked about, just the simple disregard for playing the technique. And you're just just play your technique and do your job, and we won't have any problems. I would be much better off with Josh Norman. So it is what it is. I like him now that we can have kind of a punching bag on the roster. It is what it is. I have fun with it now.
We moved on from Compton to him.
Exactly. So it is what it is. But he is infuriating. He really gets me
Again,
going.
too, and that's
He
another
chaps
thing,
my
right?
high, Jason.
Right. The other thing is like diminished skills is one thing, dude. Cover your assignment. That's it, man. And you are not a rookie in this league. If Diamador Lenore misses an assignment, I'm not gonna give him slack. Learn from it, get better. But what the hell, man? It's right there in front of you. Yeah, it feels like that. It feels like if he runs up on Norman, like, hey man, you missed your assignment. Yeah, and what? Like he's gonna tell Kai, like, yeah, and what? I do what I want, man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, what are you gonna do about it? I'm gonna punch you in the face. What the hell?
And Lil Wayne's a whack rapper. He probably just tells Kyle that all the time.
And Kyle's just like, all right, man, go give me another turnover. Go give me another turnover.
Right. I mean, just
go punch the ball.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
Whoo! Yeah, this is the only thing that will make me go tilt at this point. But it is what it is. So we'll keep coming after this every week. We're gonna get something new from Josh every week. Oh my gosh, Norman Watch is legit this year. It's so much fun. I'm so excited about it.
I'm so happy how red you got. That was really
dude,
the best part of all this.
Oh my, that is spicy. literally spicy habanero sourdough bread. You just saw it live in person, and the white hat too. Dude, it's beautiful. So talk to me a little bit about just how they can take this momentum that they built and keep it going against Seattle, because they're going to Seattle. We know Seattle's in a raucous environment. How do they go win there, even regardless of what we perceive Seattle to be?
This Seattle game is always the litmus test for any successful 49ers team, right? How do you play against Seattle? And when you talk about who they're missing, Fred, Deebo, Greenlaw, McGlinchey, you're going to be missing players in this game. Somehow it feels like if the 49ers do what I think they're going to do and win this game, now the boogeyman in the closet is gone and you don't fear anything at this point now. Now it's almost like, all right, let's go back to 2019. Obviously, the last game of the season is the Seattle game. But you slay the boogeyman, and I think every single 49er fan in the world feels like, okay, now this is special. Because now, who are you afraid of? And I think that's when you consider who's not going to be playing in this game, it springboards the 49ers into, okay, now you're in position to do something really special now. Now you can start to rattle off these wins and move up more than anything. But I think that the litmus test is always Seattle. How do you go up there? Seattle's a house of horrors. And when you talk about what's on the line here in terms of an era for Seattle, and just how this team should be viewed going forward, right? We know that there's a hierarchy right now in the NFC, right? It's Green Bay, it's Tampa Bay, I guess it's Dallas. I don't know. It's Green Bay and it's Tampa Bay and Arizona. I'm sorry. And those three. It's those three teams. And then everybody else is kind of in the same sort of tier, right? You might have a better record right now, but you're one game behind the Rams. And if you continue to take care of business and win your games, you're going to keep moving up, right? So I think that this win will speak volumes to what this team is and what we think this is. I know we said that last week with the Vikings game, but now when we're talking about what you're missing and who you're playing, this will actually really tell you who this 49ers team is right now and what they're actually capable of. Because if they can go in there and do what I think they're going to do, which is win this game, I think that you can start to view them as, okay, now you're really that team that nobody wants to play anymore in the NFC. Like you're that team that if the 49ers, wherever they finish, and they're probably not going to get the first round bye, barring something miraculous. Now, that first round, if you're Green Bay and you see the 49ers walking into your building, you're not like, oh, you're like, oh my goodness, man. And that's the team that you want to be. And I think that if the momentum continues and they're able to finish this one off right here, this one feels so important for the confidence of the team and how they should be viewed. If you're able to do that, then you become that team that you want to be going into the playoffs, that team that nobody wants to play.
Spitting, brother. You're absolutely spitting. Well said. Eloquent. Beautiful. I love it. I don't even want to follow anything up with that.
It's that
Great.
second cup of coffee, man. It's got me like,
It's hitting.
yeah, now it just hit.
So I mean, honestly, I agree. I think everything you just said is absolutely right. And what is your take on kind of Russell Wilson right now? Are they, because I want you to hit a little bit more on the like tip of the dysfunction that they are heading against. And I really think, and to your point, this could be a springboard for Seattle either way. Now, they might not be going to the playoffs this year, but they would love nothing more than to destroy our hopes of the playoffs and make it really difficult for us. We know what the rivalry is. I think it's the toughest rivalry in our division in regards to fans versus fans, players versus fans, things like that. Like, we get up for that rivalry for sure. So what do you think is going on with Russ? Do you think it's like a situation between him and the coach? Things aren't jiving. What is going on with that offense right now? Obviously, they don't have running backs, and we understand what that's like. We've lived that life. But is there what are some of the things that you're seeing from that offensive unit? Because they've been the ones that have been tearing us up in years past.
So the trend of the way that Russell Wilson has been playing this season has been happening since the second half of last season. And what I mean by that is I don't know if people notice, but Russell Wilson doesn't go through his progressions. Meaning, there's guys running wide open right in front of him over the middle of the field, but he just wants to chuck that moon ball. And I don't know how to explain it. And I wish Game Pass worked where I can go back and look to see if maybe it was all masked. It was all masked by, him with his legs and hitting those throws. But when those throws aren't there down the field, Russell Wilson is missing wide open guys. I posted a tweet in the Washington game. Literally, there's a guy with nobody in the middle of the field on him, wide open, screaming over the middle of the field. He chucks it down the field to Tyler Lockett, and it's an incomplete pass. And it's been happening since the second half of that season. We saw in the first half of last season, Russell Wilson in that offense was downright scary, man. And this is under Brian Schottenheimer. Was downright scary. They're hitting Lockett for everything. DK Metcalf is going crazy. And then it fell off a cliff. And I started to watch them, and I'm like, well, look at that guy wide open. Look at this guy wide open. What is going on? Why is this not happening? Okay, fast forward into the offseason and fast forward into this season. They make a move. They bring in the pass game coordinator from the Rams. Okay, a chip off McVay's block. Okay, better scheme, I would say, than Brian Schottenheimer, wouldn't you think? Obviously, with Sean McVay, because Brian Schottenheimer for a long time was run on first, run on second, and save us on third, Russ, please. And that whole we have to run the ball. Yeah, that doesn't work when you're not running the ball effectively. Okay, so like the 49ers can get away with that because they run the ball effectively. You can't get away with that because you're not running it as effectively. You're being saved by Russell Wilson's miraculous plays. I see a trend, and I don't see anybody else talking about it, right? Because he's been great for so long, but has he always been this guy? And it's been masked a little bit by the fact that he's made some of these amazing plays. I correct me if I'm wrong, Brad. I cannot recall a quarterback in recent memory that can be god awful for 3.5 quarters, and then all of a sudden on the last drive, miraculously win the game because he's still hung around. They're still in the game, and you saw it on Monday. This is the best part. He was awful. They tied the record for 3 and outs in a row, their own record for 3 and outs in a row. But with 2 minutes left in that game, what person didn't say Russ is about to take this down the field and score a touchdown? And what did he do? Boom, 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 touchdown. And you're like, there it is. And somehow he gets to hang around. And he was awful for the entire game. Look, the NFC Championship game against the Green Bay Packers. Awful. 4 interceptions. Awful. If that was Jimmy Garoppolo, they'd be trying to run his ass out of town. Bounce here. Onside kick there. 2 drives. A miraculous 2-point conversion. Boom. You're going to the Super Bowl. I've never seen a quarterback be so bad in games for so long. And then all of a sudden find a way to pull a rabbit out of a hat like Russell Wilson. Having said all of that, and I know this is long-winded,
Oh,
I
I love it.
fully expect, toss everything out that you've seen these last 10 weeks and everything. I fully expect Russell Wilson to have his best game of the season, hands down, no questions asked in this game. Fully expect it.
I think it's hilarious that you were you brought that up, because as you were kind of getting to your point, I was thinking about all the past games that we played against Russell Wilson and how he really hasn't had great first halves. He hasn't really come out and just dominated the 49ers defense and led his offense to a 4 quarters of just pure dominance. What do we get PTSD about? We get PTSD when it's the middle of the third quarter, we're up 2 touchdowns, and we know Russell Wilson's still going to have about 3 or 4 more possessions on the other side, because he does exactly what you just said. He can have a terrible game for 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters, but if you give him 2 or 3 possessions at the end of the game, they run their kind of, it's kind of his style of offense, right? Where he can escape, he can create, he can kind of will the team back to win himself and do it in certain ways, which against the 49ers, right? It's escaping out of the pocket. It's the bailouts. It's the it's holding them to like 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15, him just rolling out and being able to scramble for a first down and doing that over and over, just the dagger. And then they build the momentum right there at the end. And we've seen them come over the top over the 49ers a couple times in this last decade doing that same thing. So I agree 100%. I think you're 100% spot on with Russell Wilson, regardless of how bad he plays or the offense plays. If he's got 2 or 3 possessions left in him and it's a 2-score game, he's probably going to show up. So exactly to your point, we can't take the Seattle Seahawks lightly at all.
No, and I wouldn't even feel comfortable if they were up like 4 touchdowns. I don't know what it is. Like, look, they almost even got the onside kick in that game after they botched the 2-point conversion, which also he missed another read. DK Metcalf is screaming across the back of that end zone with his hand up. And if he throws that thing to him at the back of the pylon, that's a tie game, and they probably go on and win that game. But all the bounces always seem to go their way. Every call seems to go their way. The kicker got injured, and that's the only reason that game wasn't put away. Why? How? Every single time, it's always them that gets the bounces. I'll never understand it. What sort of deal has this franchise made with whoever is pulling the strings? The football gods. It's always them. It's always them. I've never seen a team get every single thing break their way. The only time that it didn't break their way was when Malcolm Butler jumped in front of that pass, and that was it.
And that was kind of self-inflicted, though, because they could have ran the ball. They could have just ran the ball with Marshawn, and there you go.
Pete Carroll wanted to get him that Super Bowl MVP. That's it.
Well, even against us, you can even use that same exact narrative against us in 2019. They were on the 1-yard line. They were on the 1.
Marshawn.
Yep, and they were on the 1-yard line. They were about to go in. I'm hyperventilating because I'm like, oh my God, they got Marshawn Lynch just for this game, and he's going to be the one to win it on the 1-yard line. Penalty. Drops him back 5 yards.
That's Pete Carroll trying to right. That's Pete trying to right his wrongs. Like that's that movie moment of like the spotlight comes on Marshawn and he comes running out and then he finishes. Well, guess what? You botched it, and that's your fault. But yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I've never seen anybody have every single thing break their way. And why is it? What deal did they make? What football god do they pray to? Goodness gracious.
Maybe it's not a god. Maybe it's not a god.
Maybe I mean, are you praying to Johnny Unitas every single night? I don't get it, man. Like, what is going on? And it's just, it almost happened again on Monday. And again, as bad as he played that entire game, when he got that ball with 2 minutes left, I literally remember scrolling through the timeline. Oh, here we go. Everyone was like, oh, here we go. And then they scored, and everybody was like, of course. So it's just that he's the boogeyman. He's Michael Myers. After you think the movie's over, he breaks through the door one more time. It's literally, we have to finish this. I don't want any more of this. Send him to the AFC so you don't have to see him or that chewing gum coach anymore. End it. Sweep the leg, Johnny.
And that's the point. The 49ers are in a position kind of similar. If we want to bring up even some more history, we dropped back, I think it was 2014, that lovely Raiders game where we went into that knowing like we got to win this game, or if we don't win this game, we're in some serious trouble. So I think it's kind of like that for them. Obviously, the records is in our favor, but that's the type of desperation they're up against. At the end of the day, these guys are professionals and they're going to show up. So it's going to be really interesting to see what we get. Hopefully, the trend continues, right, of this team and how they're performing. And I'm just really excited to see. I'm like this close from hopping on a plane and driving up to Seattle, or flying up to Seattle to go this game. It's been pulling me all year, and I don't know why it keeps pulling me. And I almost want to do it. We'll see.
You got some friends. You got some friends in Seattle. Akash, Niners Nation, shout out to him, and Rich Madrid. Also, so if you want to get yelled at about not watching the tape in person, that's your move right there to go do that.
I might do that, and I might listen to Rich talk about all the 49er.com videos that I post, and we'll go over
that's a good
great
one too.
detail about all those.
Seriously, if you want to find out the root of Russell Wilson not seeing open receivers and not going through his progressions, Rich was the one who actually put me onto it first, and he actually was the one who noticed it on the film of like guys screaming open over the middle of the field, and him just throwing that thing down the field and just not caring. Like, Tyler Lockett's down there somewhere, dude, and he just throwing it up there. So that would be something else that you could.
Shout out Rich Madrid, one of the biggest treasures on 49ers Twitter.
Oh, yes. 100%.
Legend.
That tweet that I sent out about him was actually factual. Like, he definitely does hate me.
That made me
I was bait and
roll.
switch.
I was like, oh, this is so sweet. Like, because I know you guys' relationships. I was like, oh, look at how. I was like, oh.
The punchline at the end. So basically, to paraphrase. For anybody who didn't see it, I basically said that arguing with people on Twitter and differing football opinions have people hating people that they've never met or had conversations with. And I was like, for instance, I remember thinking that Rich Madrid hated me, and then after I spoke with him, I found out that he does indeed hate me. That was the punchline at the end.
So good, because I wasn't expecting it's like, oh, we're like best friends now, like you, and I was like, nope, he still hates me, and I was just so on brand, so perfect. It was the bait and switch. It just hit me right in the funny bone. I fell out. I
just saw too many arguments on a timeline, and I was like, all right, let's break this up with some humor. Even while the 49ers are winning, 49ers Twitter continues to cannibalize itself. There's no other brand of Twitter like it online right now, man.
Absolutely. And Jason, this has been a fun episode. Before I think we're getting to that point. Really quickly, shout out the chat, bro. I love this dual stream. Like, we're streaming on both our platforms, so we have a little bit of a mix of the community. Chat's been on fire. The chat is a vibe today. So we appreciate you guys tuning in, watching, and engaging with us. You guys make these streams so much fun. But to get some of this beautiful Twitter content, where do they follow you on Twitter? Where do they follow you on all the platforms? Where do they find Jason Aponte's content? Because you need to ingest this man's content.
Yeah, appreciate you, Brad. Yeah, for more stupid bait and switch tweets like that, you can follow me on Twitter at Jason Aponte 2103. If you're on the stream right now and you're on Brad's channel and want to find out where I'm at, YouTube Jason Aponte, you can just look it up there. And if you're still here, please, it still helps. Send a like to this video. It'll still send it up no matter what channel you're on. It helps us both out either way. Also, I guess I'll make the announcement here. I have started a Patreon page. I just don't know how to actually work it out, but there will be exclusive content on there just to give you a little bit of preview of what will be on there. Pre-recorded film breakdowns that won't be on YouTube that you'll only be able to get from there if you subscribe. Another tier package would be you get to sit on a Zoom and we'll go through film together. You can ask questions. We can teach a little bit. And then the highest level of packages are going to be exclusive podcast episodes that you'll only get on Patreon that you won't be able to get audio anywhere else or on YouTube. So just look out for that. I'll drop the link soon. And, for anybody who wants any of the 3 membership tiers, it would be greatly appreciated. And I'm ready to put in work and work with this community more because I'm just having a blast talking about football with you guys.
That makes me hella happy because, again, Jason, this is what we're doing right now. We're working. Like, we're having fun, but we're working too. So I love that you are developing the Patreon, and this man has earned the ability to generate a Patreon. So that content that you're going to be getting is going to be top notch. So please make sure you subscribe to that because it's going to.
I just got to figure out how to use it because I'm a Because I'm a boomer.
I'm a boomer. Well, while Jason's figuring out how to use his Patreon, the 49ers are going to be heading up to Seattle to try to get a victory and end the era of Russell Wilson and good old Pistol Pete up there. So hopefully that's the case. And when we come back on next Wednesday's State of the Franchise episode, man, we're on good momentum. Like we talked about at the start of the show, we started doing these episodes at the end, after the Colts game. The 49ers are 4-1 over that span, so maybe we're the good juju. We're going to keep it rolling. We'll be back next Wednesday around the same time, about 1:30. Tap in, join us, have a good time. Make sure you subscribe to Jason Aponte's platforms, my platforms as well. You guys know where to find me. Until next time, Jason, it's been a blast. Everyone,